So the other thing I wanted to review is the other, if there is a gold bullet to this, as I said, this would be it, to really, really understand, is how what we call the root of the neck plays into really so many things. Yeah. Hi. Hi. Okay, so when I talk about the root of the neck, what I mean is, if you imagine the skeleton on this horse, you have your vertebrae coming down here, and then right in between his shoulder blades, there's a little V in here, and it comes up into his wither, and then of course it goes on down here and right into his tail. And so there's this V mechanism going on in here. And so it looks something like this. So here's his head, and here's that V, and here's his wither. And so what we've been talking a lot about is how this plays in. And Christina, this will be a really important one for you to, it'll give you a jump on this. So here's the head, here's that V, and here's the wither. When he releases this V up, typically you get the neck stretching out on top, and we call this a release in the root of the neck. And what happens, if you can think about this, is that if this comes up, what happens in the wither? The wither also comes up. If the wither comes up, the back comes up, and if the back comes up, the pelvis is freed to be able to tip. So he has a joint right in here, good boy. He has a joint right in here. You can feel along your horse's spine here, and you'll feel a little spot where it's soft. And right down below that is a large joint that is responsible for the tipping of the pelvis. And so if the back is up and supported, that is freed up. So then he can tip his pelvis and do the things that we'd like him to do, whether it's engage, whether it's engaged for a fancy, whether it's engaged for a dressage maneuver, whether it's to engage to travel well up and downhill on the trail, or whether it's to get ready to jump, right? Any of those things, those are physically what he needs to have freed up to be able to do it in the best possible way without injury or long-term, degrading of the joints and so on. So conversely, if we're like this and this goes down, the opposite happens, right? So if that goes down, you'll see usually the head has come up, and as this comes down, so if the V is pushed down, then the wither is pulled down, and so he's pulling his shoulders down towards the ground. His front feet get pushed into the ground. He gets a hollow back, and as he gets a hollow back, just like with us, this pelvis cannot physically tip easily. There's a brace in here, so it's much more difficult for him to do that. And now he's traveling with what his hindquarters is trailing, what we might call trailing. One other thing about that, I said that when I showed it like this, and I showed this release happening, and the neck lengthening, that is most often the case. But if your horse, for example, startles at a deer, what do? The head goes up, doesn't it? But what else goes up? The wither pops up, right? They go, oh, what's that? So what did they actually do? Even though the head came up, the wither also came up. So what did they actually do? They released in there, up and back, right? So there's a lot of movement in there that they have a whole range of things that they can do. So it doesn't mean that they cannot release that with their head up. And that's really, we don't have gaited horses here this time, but that's a really key thing to understand in the gaited horse world, because you can have that release up and the back freed and the whole thing, which improves, that really it gives that quality of gait in the easy gaits as well. So I wanted to clarify that too. But when he does that, what did he just do? I mean, we're talking about the natural instinctive horse here. He just got his mind fully alert and available, and his body fully ready to do, as most of us have ridden at one time or another, to do a 180 right there on the spot, or whatever it might be that he might think he needs to do to get away from a perceived danger once he's figured out whether he's going to do that or not, right? So that's what he does. And so what we're talking about here is getting that turned over to us. It's to get access to that to that freeing of his athletic capacity and to that access to his mind. So that's what this is all, the groundwork is, and the writing so far has been all about. And it's an absolutely key thing, because essentially what happens in here either releases the whole athletic capacity to you and to the horse, or takes it away. And right along with that, as if they have this little secret in there, right along with that, when there's a release in that root of the neck, the other thing that you get is the mind. The mind is released and available right along with the body, so you get the whole horse. So this thing in here is, if there is a gold bullet, that would be the one to absolutely understand and take away.